bad. Everybody knows
Ceremony is about to
it's a
begin.
depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. You don't go out anymore. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. There's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my... I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. At first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Every time we get up in the morning and look in the mirror, we have a reflection of the personality. We see ourselves as others see us. And if conditions are favorable, we also have a certain sense of temperament or individuality revealed through the structure and expression of the features and the general attitude of the body. The personality, of course, must use the physical form.
Good evening. Good evening. Time check, it's 9:03. Today is July 8th, Friday. I hope you are doing well. Ito na, banatan na natin to. Sorry if if the format of the program is in English for the moment. We have a few viewers outside of the country, and since everyone appears to be able to converse and understand English, then we'll just use it for the meantime. Okay, docs. Let's do this. Good evening, Sir J-Man. Good evening. Okay. Right. Let me see. So for tonight, I prepared this, I think, for the past for the past 4 days. I've been mulling over if this is the right time or do I have enough information about it. But I think it's a worthy conversation to have. This is something that we need to be aware of, especially uh, in these days. We have to be wary of people and ourselves, of course. So just to be in context, just to put this in perspective, this is mostly covering the persona. I will define a few, but I won't go into much of a nitty-gritty detail. So we'll start off with a model presented by, I think he's a doctor because there's very little to be known. There's very little about him online. I believe he is a Norwegian. I think as psychologist, if I'm not mistaken, or an economist, but he dabbles in a lot of subjects. His name is Brecht Arner. I don't know if I'm butchering his name. I'm so sorry, sir. But he presented a layered model of the human psyche. So he, as always, like everyone else, have presented it as a pyramid. Now, on top of the pyramid, of course, is what we see. So more of like an iceberg. It's only the tip. So the persona is what people see every day as we interact with them. And the ego, conversely, right under that, it's probably what supersedes. In this context, I believe he's using the ego as the driver, the persona being the vehicle. Let's say you're driving a Toyota car, you're the driver, but everyone else sees the Toyota vehicle. So the ego is the driver. And under the ego, which is the conscious part of our decision making tree, we go down to the shadow and then the archetypes, and of course, the higher self, which is at the very bottom. Some say it is unconscious, but we will get into my own personal view of that. This is again a conversation, a dichotomy of how I see things. This is not again an expert review or an opinion. I'm just a I'm just a guy who studies psychology, very fascinated with the human mind and how we use it to interact with everyone else. So, going back to this, if you can see the diagram, he's saying that the shadow is part of the unconscious as well as the archetypes. This is more of a Jungian psychology framework. I think he's also a firm believer in the Jungian psychology model. So, moving forward, the persona that we speak of, the persona that we're going to define tonight, will be, in my own words, the many masks we wear as we interact with the world at large. Carefully crafted as it may be, it is both set and developing at the same time. What do I mean? It is set. It is set up to a point. It is set like an operating system in o on a computer. There are basic operating processes that you have absorbed through your varied experience, through your varied, how do you say that, your varied interactions with people from childhood to up to the point of convergence. Okay, it is developing, of course, because if you choose to see yourself in a place where it is necessary for you to learn, it is necessary for you to grow as a person, then it will be developing at the same time. So it's not preset. There are, of course, hurdles and challenges that you will face as you decide to change, which is the most difficult part, most often than not, the decision to make that change. Uh, to put it simply, it is the role we play, either or, already chosen for us by society at large or by ourselves. So in the context, the persona is how we appear to other people. It's either how we choose to appear to other people, how we choose to present ourselves to people. there are going to be certain reasons why we would like to do that, why we would like to appear in a certain way, how we would like to present ourselves in a certain manner. Okay, so these are the roles. There are, of course, certain categories, there are certain divisions of roles that we have to play. These are the social norms that we revolve around in. So the categories mainly would be a partner, a friend, a parent, a sibling, a business owner, or an employee as a worker. So these are certain roles that we have for ourselves, either or chosen by us or chosen by society at large for us. So the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is Carl Jung. And from that, if we are aware, if we are going back to the persona, if we are aware, if we are self-aware, or if we pay attention to what we do, we try to manage perception, we try to manage how people see us, we pay attention to these things if we want to move forward or succeed in a certain role, if we want to put our focus on that particular role. So this is where we see how self-awareness and the unity of a person with his role and his objective. So this would fall under the many categories we will touch on later, like factors affecting thoughts, things of that nature. Okay. So the persona or masks enable us to navigate and interrelate with our surrounding environment by manifesting or reflecting the requirements of the situation we find ourselves in. So it's not only limited to our interaction to people, but also our interaction with occurrences. So we have to play that particular part. That's why you become tagged as deviant, you become called as a crazy person if you are out of sync with what is currently happening. So let's set an example. You're attending a party, everyone is wearing formal dress, but you wear a shirt, you wear shorts, you're in your flip-flops, so you're out of sync. So you will not succeed in that particular situation. So we have to also ask ourselves, why is he doing this? So what mask or what persona is he trying to portray at that particular time? Is he motivated by his need for attention? Does he want to be the center of attention of this particular situation? Most often than not, that's the case. So the mask or role is not only but also intricately woven into these factors or situations within the parameter of his values, motivations, character, feelings about the person, place, situation of all of these are occurring in. So the basic premise of your persona or the basic premise of a mask that you wear would be your values, your core programming, your motivations, the second layer of your programming, and your character. It could be different with other people, or maybe depending, but this is how I see it. You fall back to your values. That's the most important if we again use the metaphor of a computer to the person, your values would be your BIOS. It's it's part of your operating system that is required for you to operate. Your BIOS would be your autonomic functions. You breathe, your unconscious processes. So your breathing, your digestion, everything else that you don't need to think about and do. So your values are integrated at an early part. So it doesn't come in preset, but it is becoming preset in the long run. It's absorbed by your unconscious in the long run. So where does your value come from? Your values comes from society at large, the environment that you expose yourself in, your education, your parents. I don't know if everyone will agree with that, but that's how I see it. Your value creation process is what you see at an early part that defines importance, defines right and wrong, what you can tolerate, what you can accept. So this becomes absorbed in us. So it becomes part of our character, but also becomes part, very huge part of our motivations. So it's not only those things that affect us, it's also including factors like sensory, your bodily reactions to the situation, your perceptual or inner speech. We will get to that shortly. So there are more than I can mention, but we will stick with these for now. All of the factors are basically, as I see it, they're all stacked on top of each other. Like, if you still remember way back, there's a game Tetris. So in order to complete that line, you will have to stack it and put it all where it fits. So that's how I see it. It has to fit that particular box. It has to fit that particular place. It has to find its proper place. And the world does not allow us to sometimes have all of the pieces that we need. So we make do with what we have. So all of these separate tiles or shapes need to be fit into that particular place. So you don't have money, you try to find money so that you can get to this. So it's all part of that. It's a layer. It's stacking on top of each other. Also, I'm not a expert, but it's also, in my eyes, in one way or the other, it appears to be a mathematical equation that results to the response of the persona, not the person, but the persona to the stimuli. These are all conscious efforts. I I think a lot of people will not agree with how I see it, but I firmly believe that all of our actions are based on the premise of awareness. You will choose to react or act to a certain situation consciously. Maybe there are certain cases, maybe there are certain situations where you will react unconsciously. But I will still say that we all do things consciously, especially if we are interacting with people, if we are reacting to a certain situation. So it comes with a level of awareness. So For the equation, my best example, I think everyone has their own process. Everyone has their own equation that they follow, but my example would be based on myself. Okay. This is just my meager understanding because there is no, I couldn't find any examples of it. The only closest book that provided me with the equations would be a transactional analysis book. This is the games that people play. I couldn't find the PDF, so I couldn't copy paste, but I will do my best to post it if you would like us to go deeper into this in the future. So I mean by we, the self, the process either adding or multiplying to this with our perceptual understanding of the stimuli. So we see something. We see a phone. We see a phone. It's a brand new phone. It's the iPhone 18. So it has everything we think we want. So want and needs are again two different things. So we see something that we want. Now, our process would either be adding or multiplying to this with our perceptual understanding of what we see. We see this, it's brand new, it's the latest, greatest gadget. We want it. So now we add or subtract based on the emotional level of that attachment. Now it is then multiplied by the perceived level, our perception level of urgency. How much do we really want this? How soon do we need to want this in our hands? Now, I think this is how or what companies are using, ad people or ad agencies have been using for the past, 50 years or 100 years. They manipulate that sense of urgency, that sense of attachment. They know how to create that sense of want and need. And some people are also very good at doing that. Some people can make themselves appear necessary for you to survive. They create that environment of need, that environment of want. You become then attached to these personas. Now, we will again, we will again have to separate motivation and the reason why that person is doing that, creating this environment, creating this situation for you to attach yourself to them. So there are certain situations where it is necessary for them to survive. They need attention. They want the attention. Or they are, in one ways or the other, rewarded. When I say reward, it's not limited to money or monetary things. There are certain rewards that we receive by simply having people around us. It's not it's not limited to only, but some people say this is what the highest form of reward, but I don't think so. This has no value if you choose to leave it without so. So value creation It's a very complicated conversation. We'll leave it to the next time. So it is said that the baseline for human reaction to visual stimuli is zero point 0.2 seconds. You see it, you have a certain reaction to it. To what extent, to what level, I cannot say for sure. But it takes 0 0.2 seconds for you to notice something. That's how fast your brain is. So that's how fast the neural pathway recognizes, or let's not use recognize. That's how fast our brain sees something. So again, this is all affected by the physical condition, the level of mental capacity of the person, and then taking from cognitive psychology, there are three functions of the mind. I hope you can read what's on the screen. I hope you can read what's on the screen. So it's broken down into three things, as they say. These are the top three things: thinking, feeling, and wanting. So thinking, of course, would be making sense, judging, processing, analysis, clarifying, determining, comparing, synthesizing. These are all learned aspects, conscious aspects. This is mostly what I believe controls the situation. Not all of the time, but this is predominantly what's on top. This is stacked on top. Maybe in some form or the other, there would be a higher position for the others, like feeling, how you are feeling: happy, sad, depressed, anxious, stressed, calm, worried, or excited. So these are certain things, these are certain parts of the process that we can't remove. Also including wanting, what drives us, goals, desires, purposes, agendas, values, motives, and rewards. So I'm doing this to one of the main reasons why I decided to pick this to talk about. It's because it's necessary for us to be aware so that we cannot use it as an excuse that I wasn't aware. Because I firmly believe we are always aware of it. We know what's happening. We know what we're doing. It's far easier to excuse ourselves. So if you're watching this, you no longer have any excuse. I was trying to make it larger, but it appears it's not possible. Okay, now moving forward. I really hope you can see what's on the screen. The voices in your head. Now, I use this in the context of this is something you have to do on your own. You have to define this on your own. There is a common misconception that we as a person that exists are solely integrated. It's like one voice, one mind, etc. In this context, I mean of the voices in your head as the thoughts that permeate the process that you have in making decisions, your persona slash ego. Ego is just the technical term. It's like just the good and the bad side in your head. It's the left and right. To me, it's that voice telling you you're trying to lose weight, but there's a part of you that wants to eat what you're not supposed to do. Or you're trying to lose weight, but you are overpowered by your excuses in exercising. Things like that. Basic things. So I firmly believe that these are the voices in your head that has the most powerful impact. You know you're not supposed to do that, but still you do it. you're the voice, one of the voices in your head overpowers you. We silence these voices. We choose against our gut feelings. We choose against what we know as right and wrong. This is outside of morality. Okay? I am not going to touch that for the moment. But it is part of this, but not for the moment. It is just far easier to excuse ourselves or justify so that we can alleviate the pressure. When I say moral at this context, my context for morality is our concept of right and wrong. So it's beyond what others will define it as. This is not that. So I'm not going to go so much on that. But as a definition, moral ascendancy is the influence of one individual or group of individuals that may hold over others through his perceived morals and character. So, like in law and order, commanding officers. So, it is an impact a person can have to others, like social media influencers. It's not limited only to right and wrong. It's the appearance of knowing what you're doing. It's a perception that you have carefully crafted. It's a perception about you that you have carefully created so that people will hold firmly to you. You have that moral ascendancy. You have that higher position on the people that follow you. That's how I'm using it. That's the context I'm using it. So a lot of people will take advantage. They appear to be intelligent. They appear to be living a good life. They appear to have everything that they need, but outside of the window where we see this, are they really so? So we make the common misconception that all the money in the world will make you happy, but you can't buy happiness. But you can buy things that will make you happy. But how do you define your happiness? How do you define um your level of comfort? Or I am looking for a word, I just can't see it. I just can't think of it right now. Contentment. How do you define contentment as opposed to happiness? Are you happy without being contented? Can you be contented without being happy? So these are the many processes behind our decisions. These are the many things that we have to look at. I firmly believe that people are aware of their motivations. Maybe others are not, but you want to become rich because you came from a poor family, or you came from a rich family. You want to keep what you have, or you want to hold on to your experiences. You want to hold on to that moment. You don't want it to move away or lose it. So why are we talking about morality? Because it is part of it. It is a heavy part of it, and it's been misused. So who's pulling the strings? Let's open that. This is from an article by Atlanta Beaumont. Let me just open this full width. I'll try to post the link at the bottom. So this is just part of that. I think we've already touched on, excuse me, we've already touched on most of this. I won't go too much into details. So she said that we are all influenced by our upbringing, as we mentioned earlier. Not only that, the environment, the people around us at the time. She says that this is part of that process that develops us into who we are now. And then it also imparts on us value. It distorts or it creates that value in our eyes. Like, what's more important to you? Menial material things, or far more important things like family, your relationship with your parents, your siblings, or everyone else? What do you hold more important? Money over the trust of other people, or money over the perceived um, connection that you have with your community? So these are value creation processes that will be ingrained to you from a very young age. And she says that most people will present different personas to different people. It is the mask. As the Japanese said, you wear three masks: the one you face with your parents, the one you face with your world or the situation you're in, and the one that only you know, which to me, I believe, is your ego. It's that private face. Very few people will have the balls to show the world who they truly are. Very few people will do that because they think of how other perceive them. They try to manage perception. Now, we all have stable and recognizable personalities, but this is altered in one way or the other, depending on the environment or who we are with, or it could be affected or changed by certain situations or traumatic situations or events. And sometimes we fail to properly adjust to that. So it becomes mental health issues. Also, if you have poor boundaries or overdeveloped needs and wants, like I said earlier, needs, wants, approvals, and um, you want the attention of people, you will distort your true self so that you will get what you want. You were an introvert to begin with, you try to appear as an extrovert so that people will accept you because you want that connection with people, things like that. So conversely, I believe there's no problem or there's no issue with developing yourself, making yourself better, changing. I have no issues with changing. However, my only issue is if you have no firm ground to stand on, if you have no credibility when it comes to your beliefs, your core values. If you're wishy-washy, if you can't stand firm on what you really believe in, then I can't say that you are credible to speak about something. So you have to really pick a side and see it as it is. I'm not saying people cannot change their mind in the long run. However, you have to be careful of what you say and do at the time. because you are not only representing yourself, but also representing what you are saying is your belief. So there's a lot more of this that you can find on the article. I will do my best to put the article there, and then we'll move on. So Tesla said, this is Tesla, the inventor, like a beggar clothed in purple, whom ignorant people take for a king. So for appearances. So I think we'll stop here for now. This is 40 minutes in. So I'll just leave you with a few questions I hope you can answer for yourself. What shapes the truth you follow? It may be so much an oversimplification by saying, look at what you do in private and voice out your real truths without thinking what others will think of you after. Are you free to express your truth outside the influence of your created self image? Maybe moving forward too far, but I'll just go off tangent for a second. Are you following certain topics or events simply because they're hot? Simply because they're trending? Let's say racism. What's your real belief in that? Racism is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of membership in a particular racial or ethnic groups. Typically, it is a minority or a marginalized group. So, a racism against blacks, Hispanics, or let's say racism against Muslims. So there are many forms of this. And it's not even limited to outside of the country or outside of your race. In the Philippines, it applies. That disparity between northerners, southerners is predominant. People in Manila talk about the people from the provinces. They say they are backward simply because of the intonation in their voice or their languages. But they are far more intelligent in some instances as opposed to the people from Manila. Now, we'll also have to look at certain situations where, like the flip side, people from the provinces, I have personal experience in this. People from here, perfect example, Iloilo, there are, of course, also people who look at me differently because I do not speak their language. There is that certain barrier between us. Not necessarily because of the language, but maybe because of that pre-floating concept that people from Manila look at them differently as well. It just so happens that I have a different type of approach to speaking to people that I can relate to them, that I can gain friendship. I can create friendship with people I want to connect with. Because it's a choice. I can choose to connect with people, of course. All day long, I can do that. But why should I do that? Value. Even if you're the richest motherfucker in the world, I still won't connect with you if you go against my own personal value. Because I'm not the kind of person that will be bought by money. Some people will attach themselves to this world's richest person because they want his money or they want to be associated with that to appear also as the same. Because the saying goes, there's a saying that tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are. That's why we have to be very careful with who we associate ourselves with. Now, in the concept or in the definition, it is a noble pursuit. It is a grand cause to rally behind and serve up one's life at the altar if need be. It is a worthy cause to fight for racism, um, equality, and things like that. However, we have to look at the people rallying for this cause. It's not all the time that their agenda is evident. It's like the unconscious part of you. So I can only hope that this was of any help. I hope that there was some sense to this. Let's see if we'll continue this in the future. I will put this on the playlist as part of the Red Queen Paradox because it is the part of the research for that. So if you have any questions, concerns, or violent reactions, please reach out to me directly. The broadcast has a comment section. Please comment your questions or concerns. If you have your own thoughts about it, please let me know. If you want to if you want us to continue this in the future, please let me know as well. So again, thank you very much. This is Joey from Elias Journeys. Have a wonderful and safe rest of your evening. And life is about making choices. Choose wisely. Choose wisely. Okay, docs. Oh, by the way, before we go, thank you very much, Sir Jayman Greyhead. Thank you very much for watching. Pinoy Pastime, thank you very much. Buhok ni Kuts, thank you very much. Sir Warren DG, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Sir Dennis Calagua, good evening, sir. Good evening. Thank you very much for watching. In this corner, good evening. Thank you very much for watching. If there is anyone watching from Facebook, oy, good evening, Sir Sir Rich Corcom. Good evening, sir. Good evening. Thank you very much for watching. So if you came in late, please just review it and let me know your thoughts. Should we continue with this format? Should we change it or anything else? Like I said, thank you very much. Have a wonderful and safe rest of your evening. May you be always safe amidst all of this insanity around us. Thank you.
Every time we get up in the morning and look in the mirror, we have a reflection of the personality. We see ourselves as others see us. And if conditions are favorable, we also have a certain sense of temperament or individuality revealed through the structure and expression of the features and the general attitude of the body. The personality, of course, must use the physical form